You're listening to Launch with Kim
and Dr. Newt
on Praise.fm.
Welcome to Launch, everyone.
Welcome and come on in. We are here on Praise.fm with Kim
and Dr. Newt.
We are going to launch your marriage
tonight. We're going to switch. We've been talking about millennial episodes, and we're going to switch our series to marriage tonight. So we're excited about that. We're excited about that. On top of talking about this, we have our own marriage ministry. We call it Marriage Simple as Pie, P-I-E, where PIE stands for Protect, Invest, and Empower one another. So we have a book coming out soon. It's in the final edits. So it'll be out soon, and we'll let you guys know so you can grab that book.
Yes.
And we can figure out how to do some virtual conferences. And then when all this stuff is over, when Cora
is finished.
You can invite us and we'll come talk to you live.
Yes.
But tonight is all about launch.
It's all about launching your marriage on Praise.fm. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Mary Jamison. Hi, Jessica Duncan. Hi, Iris. Hi, Ann and Tori and Denise and Lizette, Veronica. Hi, come on in. I know they're coming through.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for joining.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like we said, we've been talking about millennials.
Yeah.
And we had a really good time with that, and we learned a lot of things about millennials.
So much.
We heard them talk about church hurt. We heard them talk about family.
Yeah.
We heard them talk about things in their upbringing and jobs
and all the things that we can relate to.
Yes.
We can relate to those things because we had similar issues when we were the younger generation ourselves.
Right. So we just did a relaunch on Saturday, and we made sure we had about, I think it was like 6 millennials on at the same time of us. So we made sure they understood that they are the right now.
Yeah.
So they're no longer the tomorrow generation, the tomorrow leaders. They're the right now.
It's called the right now generation.
So we felt led that it would be right for us to go into the next important thing in their life. Your relationships are either going to. There's no way you can avoid relationships in life.
You're going to have some good, bad, ugly.
Right. So your relationships are the one thing that are either they're either going to help support or abort your purpose. So you have to understand good relationships, be able to choose good relationships, and the most important relationship in your life is your marriage.
Absolutely.
It's your marriage, just flat out, that's what it is. So we want to talk about marriages for a few of our episodes, and we're hoping that you guys will go ahead and click share and do some launch, what do they call watch parties?
Watch parties.
All that stuff.
And share, and not only that, but also questions that you may have about relationships and some of the things that we're talking about, or if we're not talking about it tonight, that's okay. Post the question. We'll look at it later, and we'll find a way to address it.
And you can post it on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page called Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt, and you can post a question on there, and we'll get to it on a Monday night or a Saturday night.
Right.
But you also have the comment, the chat here right now. So we try to watch that as we're talking to be as interactive as possible. So you guys, let's go ahead and get started if you don't mind.
Right.
So we just kind of want to start by asking a question, so what is marriage?
What is marriage?
What do you think marriage is? So we're going to keep talking because we know there's a lag in time between what we're saying and what you're hearing. Right? So as you hear this in the chat or just go ahead and kind of type in, what do you think marriage is? When you hear that word, like what comes to your mind? What is marriage? And while you're doing that, we're just going to keep talking and moving along because we want to try to give you that great idea before we leave tonight, right? So one of the things we want to talk about what marriage is, I'm gonna put a school word on you. It's a typology.
Yeah.
So here's what a typology is. A typology means when one thing relates to another thing, but all of this relates to all of that.
Right.
So there's not parts of this relates to parts of this, or you can apply parts of this to parts of that. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So God's relationship to us as human beings is a marriage. It's a type of marriage. So the way our relationship is with Him, it's a typology of how my relationship should be with my wife.
Right.
It's all or nothing. The way I relate to God should be the same way I'm relating to my wife, and vice versa. So it's an all or nothing type relationship that we have to, learn about and pay attention to. So one of the best ways to create a strong marriage is to learn more about your mates.
Right. Lady Rain actually, Alicia Lorraine commented that it's the coming together of two into one. It's our first ministry.
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly. And we're going to get into that coming together into one. We'll talk a little bit about that today, just to give you something to think about.
So just so you guys know, today is like the overview of what you're going to hear for the next few weeks.
Right.
So we're kind of just giving you the overview, and then we're going to start breaking and chipping things apart. And this is where the discussions are going to get real. So just get ready for the real.
Right.
It's coming in a few weeks.
So as you're coming on, please go ahead and share this launch party so we can hear more people, because the more people who understand marriages and have great marriages, we can create great families,
right,
and more productive children. So one of the words in marriage is covenant.
Yeah.
Covenant. So I believe that I really only have two covenants. I believe I have a covenant with God, and I have a covenant with my wife. So that's how I kind of view my whole life. Everything else is a relationship, it's an agreement, it's a business, it's something or other. But my covenant, my blood covenant, is with God and is with my wife. So one of the examples of a covenant was Jesus. When he died on the cross.
Right.
So before he nailed his hands and his feet, they pierced him in the side, so he shed some blood. Right? When that blood was shed on the cross, in essence, when he said it is finished, the veil of the temple was rent, and the holies of holies was exposed, so that we could go directly to God for ourselves.
Right.
There was no longer any ritual or anyone needed in the middle. So that meant Jesus was the perfect sacrifice that created a covenant between us and God because of his blood. Right?
Yes.
So marriage, we said, is a typology, right? So that what Jesus did for us is the same typology of what marriage means together. So it's a blood relationship, because when a virgin comes together, and couples, with the male virgin woman and the man come together, and they have relations. PG-13. No, I'm sorry. That hymen, there's a skin, and that hymen is broken. Right. It's called hymen, and blood is shed. Right. So when that blood is shed, a covenant takes place.
And in other cultures, just so those of you who know that in other cultures, I believe one is that in some of the African cultures, they wait to find out or even to see the results of that blood being shed. Right. So it's like a celebration that all the people who attended the wedding are waiting on the outside for the relations to come together, for someone to come out and to show that there was a shedding of blood, meaning the covenant was actually established between the two. So a lot of people, might look at that like, oh, but honestly, that's how important it is. Right. So that's how valuable it is.
So there's a witness to the covenant.
There's a witness to the covenant.
Right. Yes. So not only is the blood shed, there's a witness to that blood being shed. And there's another story we'll tell you about covenants where there were two tribes or whatever who wanted to make peace or come together. And that's how they used to do it in the Bible days. What they would do is they would dig a trench between the two, and they would take the animals and sacrifice the animals or pour the blood of the animals in that trench. And the person who represents this tribe would walk through that blood, and the person that represents that tribe would walk through that blood, and that blood would then, because they both partake in that blood, that meant that covenant between those two tribes were sealed. Right. So we wanted to kind of let you know that marriage is a covenant.
Yes, it is.
Right. And how do we define covenant? We define covenant. what was it? We called it a binding, sealed agreement. Yes. Sealed by some type of blood. Right. Whether it's spiritual or physical, and we call it a sheltered nook.
Sheltered nook, a place where you could hide, and a nook is a place that's comfortable, where you can kind of really fit. And so that's what that sheltered place that the covenant is a place that you're sheltered and you fit.
Right. It's a protected partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened means is something is swapped.
Right. Right.
Something is swapped between my wife and I, and we have a covenant, a blood covenant that is together that cannot be broken or should not be broken here on this planet. So what we're going to do is take a break right now. I believe it's time for a break, and
the song is "Love Is Enough."
I got my husband songs tonight, y'all.
So y'all, we going
so we take it old school. This is my favorite group.
Way back, y'all. So some of y'all might not have been born at this time, but the song is called "Love Isn't Love Until You've Given It Away."
Till you've given it. Wish I could sing.
You gonna sing it? Okay, we'll be back in a little bit, y'all. Covenant and marriage.
I can tell you how I feel for you, and all the things that I could do to show you the love I have is true. There are many words that I could say, some melodies that I'd like to play to show you the love I have is true. But my thoughts may change and my words, they'll pass, and only what I do is gonna last, and this will show you the love I have is true. The lonely runaway that has no place for his head to lay, who will show them that their love, the one who's lost a friend and feels the emptiness within. The pain they feel should be mine, so I've gotta take the time to let my light shine, and show the love of Jesus Christ. Love isn't love till you've given it away. It's just waiting to be given, all bitterness erased. By this you know that to Christ's disciples, none else can take love's place. Love isn't love till you've given it away. The pain they feel should be mine, so I've got to take the time to let my light shine, and show the love of Jesus Christ. Love isn't love till you've given it away. It's just waiting to be given, all bitterness erased.
Have you ever wanted to host your own inspirational radio show? Have you been called to inspire and spread God's word? Please contact Alicia Rain for more info.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Launch.
Good to see some more of you are joining us tonight. We are talking about marriage.
Yes, I'm Dr. New.
And I'm Kim.
Just in case you weren't here before, this is Launch.
Kim and Dr. New.
Of course, on Praise.fm.
We're talking about marriage. We just spoke about what marriage was. We actually asked that question, and we asked people to post if you have an idea of what you would call what marriage is. Please just share.
Yeah,
We'd love to look at it.
We'll see it in the chat and
Find out what
acknowledge it
you're
as we go. So after we asked that question, we kind of talked about covenant because we said that marriage is a covenant. We believe that we only have two covenants on this planet. We believe we have two covenants, one with God and one with each other.
And although there are other covenants, but the ones that we believe are the most valuable and the ones that we actually acknowledge.
Right. So what we're going to do is talk about some types of covenants, examples of different covenants. So like we said, a covenant is it's an agreement. It's some kind of binding, sealed agreement. It's
a sheltered nook.
Right. It's a place where you fit in.
Right.
It's like a partnership where something is swapped between the two. And in our case, we believe that the sealing to our swapping is the blood. So it's the blood of Jesus. And then the typology of our relationship with God, and then the blood of as a marriage when we come together, and have relations. Right. You gotta light your face up when you say that.
But the other thing is the fact that the marriage just represents God's relationship with His church. I mean, that's the marriage is just it's a carbon copy of what it is that He does.
But to some people, their friends are covenants. Some people, friends can be covenants. And for example, we can allow friends to get in our lives without trying to get into, because we do a series on types of relationships as well. So one of the we talked about it before actually. We talked about those confidants and those comrades and things like that.
And they fit today.
Right. So sometimes we allow our friends' relationships, we make covenants with them to the point where we're making decisions in our lives based on our friends, and what works with them, what doesn't work with them, what's good and convenient and not convenient, things of that sort.
Yeah, and it can affect your marriage, allowing those particular relationships, and they should just be relationships, but sometimes they become covenants where we bring them with us in our marriage, and it causes turmoil in your relationship, and that is a problem.
Yeah, you let your girls tell you what to do, or bros, you let the boys tell you what to do, and it's not realistic.
Right.
Another type of covenant that, an example of covenants that we see that might get in the way or be in danger of our marriage relationships are with mentors.
Yeah.
So that mentor doesn't mean you any harm. He actually wants you to get better, and you submit to that mentor because they have something that you need.
And a mentor is when you allow them to tour your life. Yes. So as they're touring your life, think of all the things that are in your life. There has to also be a line in regards to the mentor's ability to tell you what you should and should not do if it's affecting the covenant.
Right. Because they're just touring.
Right. That's it.
They're just touring, and you give them the access to what it is that you're going to allow them to affect or change.
Right.
So your marriage is your covenant. So when you begin to have a covenant with that mentor, it gets in the way of that marriage.
Right. It shouldn't be a covenant.
Right.
It should just be a relationship or a partnership for a certain amount of time or over a certain area of your life. Not necessarily your marriage.
Exactly.
Cause some serious problems.
So when I submit to a mentor and I start responding or reacting or relating to my wife the way my mentor says, rather than the way our covenant and how we know we relate together and synergize together occurs, then I know that covenant, I've created a covenant with that mentor, and it's now in the way of my marriage. Another example,
Yeah.
Y'all ain't gonna like this one.
Your children.
Your children.
As my grandma used to say, your children.
Your children. That's a big one.
Yeah, because you know,
Gigantic.
especially with families who are blended.
Blended families, baby.
Like
we can tell
blended
you all
families.
about
Yeah, because we want, look, that's why we can tell you.
Yeah.
Because it
it.
happened.
They my kids.
We did that.
That's her kids. They my kids. They
Yeah.
my kids. That's her kids. You know, and you don't want to be that way.
But when you blend families, this can happen. So
Right.
that's why we just like to keep it real with you.
Right.
It has happened to us.
Right.
So we're sharing it with you so that you know that you have to be careful because those kids are here for a season.
Exactly.
They're here for a time to
Raise
grow
them to
and go.
Ain't
And
no
what-
raising to stay.
Yeah. And what happens when they're gone? Then you
Right.
got a
And
problem
looking
here.
at each other.
Right.
You don't even know what to do.
Guess what? That's what we talk about in our
That's
book.
in that book. Okay. We
Because
don't want to get too much into that.
we got there.
You got to buy the book.
But we got to that point
Right.
where we were looking at each other because we established these covenants
With our children.
with our children.
Right. With something that was never meant to stay.
Never meant to stay.
The children, we got to realize the children aren't so, although we're stewards over the children.
Right.
They're not ours.
Right.
They're still God's. They have their own purpose,
Exactly.
their own reason in life. And what we're supposed to do is be the bow
Yep.
that draws back the arrow so
Yep.
they can go in their
And
direction.
release.
Right? But we are here till death do us part.
Exactly.
So a lot of times we allow children, we create covenants with our children,
Mm-hmm.
and that gets in the way
Absolutely.
of what we need to build, the mission
Mhm.
that we need to build together. And I don't think we'll get into mission on this episode, but that's another one.
But I do want to say, if any of you have ever gone to your children about your spouse,
Woo,
don't pass out. But
Yeah.
if you've gone to your children
I've been good.
about your spouse and you've said negative things about your spouse, I'm not talking about where you say, we'll pray for dad, he has this hard time, but where you talked badly about your husband or your wife to your
You
children.
know he don't want you to watch that.
Right. It's
You know what?
it's him.
She wants you to do that. You better do that. This is for your mom get home.
He's the reason. It's not me, it's
Right.
him. When
Those
you do
kind of
that,
things.
yeah, that causes all kinds of
Right.
turmoil. And then causes the children to then speak ill or think ill of their parent.
Right. Which breaks the whole order. of the
Yes,
household,
it breaks the whole household order.
which is the meaning for the covenant in the first place.
Exactly.
Right. So you're
Exactly.
destroying what you're supposed to be doing. Another one, you guys, are your parents in your family. Parents and families, a big covenant issue.
Look, I see somebody going, yeah, check that. I know that's right.
Because you love your mom, you love your dad. They raised you. That's your
Yeah.
sisters. Y'all been through.
Right.
Thick and thin, and but
It's always been just me and my child.
right.
Parents sometimes say, it's always been me and her.
Right.
It's always been me and him.
Right.
But the sad thing about that is when he goes and finds himself a wife, you're going to be just here. Or when she goes and finds a husband, you'll just be here.
Right.
So when you get them involved in those areas that there should be a line,
Right,
that's when the door should be shut.
Right. My covenant was never with my
Never with your children or your family.
That's
or
what
your
I've come out
parents.
of. That's my heritage, my
Mhm.
bloodline. That's what I've come out of. My covenant is what I partnered with.
Right, Me.
So I didn't have a choice. I didn't choose my family,
right.
but I chose my wife.
That's true.
You see the
That's
difference?
true.
So when we allow them things get in the middle, and I know I did.
We all have, that's why
You
we're
know?
talking about it, Lou,
You
because
know?
we did it. We telling you what we
Right.
did. We've been transparent
Yes.
since our show started
Yes.
about the things that we've done. Why? So that you don't have to repeat them.
Right.
So if someone gives you a book or some information, you read that information, you look over that book, because you don't have to walk down that path.
Yes.
So we're telling you that we made those mistakes
So you don't have to.
so that you don't have to. We
There's
made
no-
those mistakes with our parents and with our children. Look who's excited. He's
Yeah,
ready.
gotta
Go
tell you
ahead.
this one. Gotta tell you this one. So, because we got 2 minutes before break, so we gotta tell you this one. Employers. Employers. Because a lot of us see our employers as our source.
Wow.
Because that's where we make our money. And that's, so we can get the things we want. Because we're looking at the things. We're not taking no thought for the things and seeking first the kingdom of God. So
Right.
what we're doing, instead of having kingdom thinking and building our covenant
Mhm.
so that we can produce our own seeds and seed
Right.
our own fields and create our own harvest, we look at our jobs as our source. So we create covenants with our employers.
Wow.
Such that there's things we won't do or will do or time we will spend or won't
Mhm.
spend because we're focusing on what that employer said we need to.
What they can do for us.
Yes.
And that will affect your covenant.
Right.
Your marriage.
And that one was yours. The work of God.
Yeah. Oh man. When we come back, I know we have time. But when we come back, I want to talk about this. There was some friends of mine at work that talked about work wives and work husbands. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Because that right there gets you knocked out.
Put your paws down. Put your paws down, Pop. All right, guys, we're going to be back. We have Todd Delaney with You're Doing It Again. Stay with us and tell someone to join.
We got a brand new one I'm going to share with you tonight. Are you ready? Goes like this. You make the blind man see. Make the lame man walk again. You cause the dead to rise. And that's why we dance in liberty. 'Cause you're doing it all again. Yeah. 'Cause you're doing it all again. You made the blind man, made the lame man walk again. You called the dead to rise, and that's why we dance in liberty. Come on, shout it, you're doing it again. Oh,
to Launch with Kim
and Dr. Newt
on Praise.fm.
Back to Launch, you guys.
With Kim
Hope
and
you
Dr.
enjoyed that song.
Why do you start singing it with Dr.? That is funny.
So
Hello.
we just want to say, you guys, we appreciate your time. Taking
Thank
time out
you.
on Monday night, logging in and watching
Yummy.
and participating here on Launch with us tonight. I know there's many things you can be doing.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Yemi and Dora and Victoria and Myra. Hi, Myra. Brittany Brooks. Hi, Brittany Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
I got Ahmed Fleming. I grew up with Ahmed Fleming.
Come
We grew
on,
up.
Ahmed.
So we go back like car seats and fat crayons. You know what I mean? Playing kickball and
Fat crayons.
dodgeball.
Hi, Dawn Martin, Anita Allen, and wait, is that Deanna? Yes, it is. Hi, Natasha. I love you, Tosh. Hello, Aunt Sue. Hi, you guys.
We got Pastor Kendall from I'm
What?
gonna say the wrong name.
Oh, we
I always
need-
say Obador.
We need
Got
Pastor Kendall.
there.
Pastor Kendall, we got a
Yeah.
controversial question. We're gonna be talking in a minute. I'm gonna need your response on this one.
Let's jump back in, you guys.
So
We've been
guys,
talking
we're
about
talking
marriage
marriage.
tonight.
Yes.
We started a new series. It was millennials. Now we're taking marriage, taking things to the next
To
level.
the next level.
So we don't have time to kind of go back to everything we said. Hopefully you'll review if you're just jumping in, you'll watch
Yeah.
the replay. But we just talked about
The
covenants. The dangers of different types of covenants. We believe that you only have two covenants, two blood covenants in your life. We believe it's with God and with your wife. So sometimes we talk about friends and our mentors, children, parents and families, employers.
Can be in the way.
Can be in the way because we create covenants with them and they're never meant to be.
Right. They're
Covenants.
never meant to be
Because they're
covenants.
not blood
Those
sealed.
are just relationships.
Right.
And we talked about those confidants and certain relationships on our very first week, our first series. That's what
Right.
we talked about.
And how they get in the way of your marriage.
Exactly.
And
So-
can kill it.
And can kill it.
Mhm.
If you
If you
make
let it.
covenant, yes, if you make covenant with them. So I was going to share a story with you about some friends of mine at my job. This lady from my job was saying that she was a gentleman at my job's work wife. Now, mind you, she said it when his wife was there visiting to the wife. Now, the only reason why I'm sharing this is because I want you to understand how we get our minds set in certain things. He never treated her like a work wife. They were partners on a team, but because she said that in front of his wife, it made his wife was so devastated that she actually went to the person in charge and made a complaint about it. And it affected her husband and her relationship because she assumed that the husband was treating her like a work wife. And I've been there all that time. He never did. It was just a loose lip conversation that this person had. So you got to be very, very careful with the things that come out of your mouth and how you label people on your job. And then someone said that about me one time years ago. A lady was like, "Oh, Kim, that's like your work husband." I said, "Oh, no, hold on. She don't have one of those. She don't have a work husband." And she was like, "Oh no, I mean you guys work so well together." I said, "Yep, that's what we do. We work well together. He's not my work husband. We don't want to call it that. We don't want to put that in the atmosphere."
We'll come in and mess the whole place up.
Oh, hush. So anyway.
But but on the flip side, and I'm laughing and joking about it, but in all honesty, if someone would have said that to me and Kim was there, I kid you not, I would have took a couple steps back because I would have been afraid of what was going to happen next.
What was I going to do?
No,
Blood covenant, y'all.
Because because of what this means. I mean, we fought some battles. We've been through some things, and and had to climb out of some holes, and and she's not going to sit lightly for someone to encroach that area.
That's
just like I'm not going to sit by lightly. And not that we're jealous or don't trust each other, but this thing is important. We protect it.
A lot.
Right,
it means everything. Just like the church does to Jesus.
Right.
That's the same thing the covenant is supposed to be to you. It's a model of what our Lord did.
Right.
It's a model.
Right.
And it's supposed to represent the church.
Yes. Technology.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So then why are these so dangerous to the marriage covenant? Because what happens is secrets start to form. Now let me tell you what that means. that when you think you work so well with somebody at work, you start to share things with them about your relationship. When you have a problem and your children are old enough, you start telling them things about your spouse. When you are still involved with your parents and you have them too involved, you start to say negative things about your spouse, which starts to form opinions of your spouse from your parents or your mentors. When you let them be a God in your life instead of a guide, what happens is they start to then tell you what to do in your relationship. And your friends, the same thing. You start speaking negative things about what's happening in your life, or you're telling them too much. So these are things that can be damaging to your marriage covenant. Yes. That's why you don't want to have any other covenants besides the one with Jesus and the one with your spouse. Okay.
Like Pastor Kendall said, the conversation home would have been super intense.
Yeah, I know Pastor Kendall. You better come on.
So let's kind of move on from that piece. Yes. So I think you kind of got the picture what the covenant is. And again, we do a relaunch on Saturday on our Facebook page, launch with Kim and Dr. New. We'll be digging a little deeper into these things and have more of an organic conversation because our time constraints is a little different. But we want to talk about.
We take our time. We got next Monday too, baby.
That's true. But I do want to talk about the fall.
Come on, Pastor Kendall. This is where we need you.
So for I know you know the story of Adam and Eve, right? and Eve and Adam, they're in the garden. Everything's great. You know, they walking around. You know. It's looking good.
Naked and unashamed, like my daughter's shirts.
Naked and unashamed. You can fill in the blanks. Right? I got a whole lot of blanks to fill in.
All right.
Right. So, Eve gets to talk to a serpent. Right. Mm-hmm. The serpent's talking to Eve.
Right.
So, first of all, I think that's not the first time that's happened. This is just the way I think logically. Because first of all, if the woman sees a snake, you know, why wasn't she scared? And secondly, the snake was talking.
Well, at that time, babe, they weren't afraid of anything because they hadn't eaten other fruit yet.
Well, I would have broke. I'd have been gone, right? Oh, so anyway, so he's talking, and you know the conversation, and it's about eating from the tree of knowledge. And so, long story short, Eve gets beguiled by that serpent, right? So I've heard some say, because Eve was in a conversation of wits that she couldn't handle. I've heard some say that.
And some people say that because that she was only beguiled because the husband did not protect her. So I mean, there's a whole lot of things that people say.
Right.
What I'm asking you is, tell me what you think. I want to see some posts.
But tell
us what you think.
Who you think was who was really tripping in that whole thing? Was it really on Eve or was it on Adam? Because the Bible does say that Adam was standing right there. You know, and took the fruit anyway. So, you know, if you're in the chat and you can, you know, what you think?
Now, you know, we love to have these conversations where we just kind of put it out there.
Just for fun.
And then let me just tell you, there's someone else who said, like we listen to different podcasts and things, there was someone else who said that Eve messed everything up. It was really interesting. I was like,
that Eve messed everything.
How chauvinistic was that?
Right.
But these are things that different people say. And for years, this thing has been preached and bashed. Women have been bashed. Men have been. I mean, it's something. Yeah, we said we open up a can of worms. It's the man's fault. They're supposed to protect us and come to our defense when the snake approaches. I love it. I love it.
That's valid.
I want to know. I want to know what Wubby thinks. Yeah, Wubby, what do you think?
Or what a male thinks right there. You know, who was that for? You know, was Eve? Was it Adam?
All right, Demetrius. I see you on here, Demetrius. What you think?
Don't be afraid. Log in with an alias if you don't want to say it. But as you guys are logging in and giving those comments, we're going to move on just so we can move on, right? But we're not going to. So at this point with the fall, there is a thing where we were never supposed to let anyone put asunder the relationship we had. So God, you know, made all the things, the plants of the air, you know, the fowl, all the stuff, the beasts, the fish. Then he made Adam. And then he said, it's not good for man to be alone. Okay. And he made Eve, right? But then this fall happened. and it happened because of maybe some type of miscommunication
Mm-hmm.
or a misorder or something like that went on. But a covenant was broken,
Right.
right? So we were not supposed to let anything put the covenant between us and God to break that thing, and somehow that happened when that fruit was eaten, right?
Mhm.
So the serpent, right, was actually in the form of a man, because the scripture says, let no man put asunder what God has put together.
I never thought of it like that.
And the serpent, actually, she the one that said that. She don't remember.
I
Yeah, you
don't
remember that?
remember
You let tell
Wait,
that.
are you saying that it's viewed? That, okay.
No, not in the form like
Okay, because
physical
I was
form.
like, wait,
but
I
viewed
didn't
that.
say that. But okay, you're right.
Right. So I guess our whole point to this piece that we wanted you to see, other than to try to create some controversy for fun, was that there was a stipulation placed on us because of that breaking of a covenant
Right.
in the garden.
Yes.
So we call it the fall, right? But it was really a broken covenant between God and man,
Mm-hmm.
because we were supposed to take care of that garden the way he takes care
Wow.
of the kingdom of heaven, and do and not do what he said do and not do.
Mm-hmm.
We chose to do something different, so covenant was broken, and some stipulations were put in place.
Mhm.
And stipulations such as, pain and labor. Man will have to work by the sweat of his brow.
Right.
So our point is this: when I violate my covenant with my wife,
Mhm.
there's going to be some consequences.
Right.
Right. There's going to be something to pay.
Mhm.
Because you got to reap what you sow.
That's true. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was laughing because still thinking about some of the things that people said. Oh, look here, let's see. Mary Preston said, why was she having a combo with something crawling on the ground on its belly? It was upright, but why was she having a combo anyway? Mary? Oh, thank you for sharing that post from over there. But anyway, it's funny because of all the different, thinking that goes behind this, and not that it's necessarily that valuable for us to be worried about who was right and who was wrong at this point.
That's just for fun.
Yeah, we are. We're just actually having fun because it's getting the conversation started.
Right.
So before we go to break, what I just want to say is what we're doing tonight, we're just giving you an overview of a whole lot of things that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to break down each section like we do our workshops for that we've created for husbands and wives. So tonight we're just getting some feedback. Okay, let's hear.
So we got to go to this break. When we come back from the break,
I want to hear.
we'll tell you what Pastor Kendall said, because he's always on tip. Okay, we're getting the signal to go ahead and say it. Pastor Kendall said, no, she didn't. If Adam had to put it down right, for example, talking her love language with no gray areas, then no said, right?
And Yemi said, I think both have a responsibility. God is an all-knowing, gave both of them a punishment. How about that?
Oh.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I love to hear what people think. We're going to take a minute here. We're going to listen to
put your thing down right.
Put your thing down right, Pastor Kendall said. We're going to listen to Travis Green, Made a Way. Oh, we're going to do Wuppies when we come back.
And it looked as if it was over. You
Oh, he probably didn't know how to get on that. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back.
With
Kim.
and Dr.
Oh, he wants to sing tonight.
I hit that note, y'all.
He been singing tonight. But I it's covenant, so I'm going to stay with him, y'all.
Yeah. God know who to give a gift to, because if I could sing or play an instrument, I would be a big show off. I ain't gonna lie about it.
We're talking about marriage tonight, guys, and we're so glad that you're with us. Thank you for staying with us and for joining us. I know it's late on the East Coast, but we love you. I'm so glad that my cousin Ruth joined. Ruthie, we love you so much.
Right. So we only have a few minutes left, and we want to kind of touch on this last section because we think it's kind of most important.
It's the most important.
We want to tell you 5 words that will help keep your marriage intact. 5 words.
5 words.
So I'm gonna tell you the words.
Get your launch pad.
Got your launch pad. Oh, we got to tell about the launch pad.
You got to have your launch
Get
pad.
your launch pad.
You need
your
to
launch
write
pad out.
these 5 words down.
So the words are, I'll tell you the words we're going to talk about. Leave.
Leave.
Like
Mother and father.
Yep.
Matthew 19.
Cleave. Don't tell them.
Oh, don't tell them the scriptures? Okay.
Cleave. C-L. Cleave.
Leave.
Right? Let.
Let.
L-E-T. Get.
Get.
G-E-T.
And bet.
Right?
B-E-T.
Leave, cleave, let, get, and bet. Right? Those 5 words will save your marriage.
Leave, let, get, and bet. Leave, let, get, and bet. But those 5 things are going to help your marriage stay intact.
Right. So leave, like Kim said.
Yes.
Leave mother and father.
Now, who's supposed to leave their mother and father?
Husband will leave their mother and father.
Husband.
Not the wife. I was told to leave
That's right.
my mother and father.
Leave.
So I have no covenant, I have no break. I'm leaving to start a new thing.
Right. Teach that thing.
Right? So my friends, my family, and all those things are no longer my main concern. It's no longer what I'm tied to. It's no longer what's sustaining me. It's no longer my umbrella. I left that to do what? To cleave together with my wife so that we can become one flesh.
Exactly.
Now we're both cleaving together. So the same thing applies to the wife. Now she never left her mother and father and none of those things. So she still has that tie.
Because a woman needs that connection. So there's things that she still needs to know.
Right.
The husband is supposed to be ready when he goes.
You got it, because we are what's called Ab. So that's a life giver and a sustainer. That's what that word means, right? A woman, she's still an incubator.
Right.
So she takes a thing and she gives you something better. You know. So my job is to produce a thing,
to create the house.
yes, and then sustain it
And let me make it up.
and make it a home, right?
Okay.
So that's why I leave, go start a new thing. She makes that thing better, but we cleave together to make it better. So leave everything else, cleave together,
Yes.
right? So that's Matthew 19:5 and 6 if you need a scripture, right?
You can study that.
Right. And then it says let. That's the next word.
I love this one.
Let no man
No man.
put asunder, pull apart, get in between. Don't let anything in between you.
Listen to the word. It's let. That means you have to give it permission to get involved and to cause a problem.
Right.
It doesn't just come and cause a problem.
Right.
You have to allow it.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why we told you about those different covenants. We want you to be aware of them because that's when you're letting things in between you and your marriage, your wife. You're about to build this skyscraper.
That's right.
No one else is.
That's right.
Leave mother and father, cleave together, become one flesh. Don't let anything in between you.
No man.
Kick out all the nonsense. Kick out all the talk. Kick out all that, wannabe housewife junk that you hear. This, that, I think I would have did this. I would have did that. Kick
or
that
a man
all out.
being too. Don't be sensitive.
Right.
Don't be sensitive over your boy. I told you.
Keep that girl in check. All that. Let that go.
Foolishness.
Let that go. Don't let anything in between you. And then here's the next one. Get in position.
Yeah, I love this one.
So get in position. This is coming from Ephesians. Ephesians 5, around 24 through the 28, somewhere in there. You know the scriptures where it says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
So get in position.
Right? So get in position. Christ gave up his life for the church so that the church can form and become all that it's supposed to be. So he sacrificed himself first, which meant he submitted to the purpose of the church first.
That's getting in position. Get in position to love.
Right.
Which means which means sacrificing, which
Right.
means letting down your will,
Right.
which means submitting to something.
Right.
And we'll talk a little bit more about
Right.
that,
See,
the understanding of that.
But then after that, it says, wives, submit to your own husband.
Right.
But we get stuck there because we said, wives, submit. You got to submit to your husband. Ignoring the first verse that said, hold it.
Right.
I'm supposed to love her as Christ loved the church.
First.
Which meant I'm submitting to what she's supposed to be so she can submit or fall under the mission of how I see things and how we see things together so we can create that.
And when it says, as Christ loved the church
Right.
and gave himself for it.
himself, exactly.
So that's the role, that's the position you have to get in. So that's your get,
Right.
men and women, submitting to your husband, meaning the mission
Right.
that God has given you and him together.
Sub means under
a mission.
So if there is no mission,
You can't get under.
ain't
no.
nothing to be under.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk about that later another time. And the
And the
last
word is bet.
bet.
I mean, you got to bet on each other.
Got to bet on each other.
I mean, when it's dark, when the winds and the waves come, when it's the last blade of grass in the field and it doesn't look like it's going to be any harvest,
Right.
you got to bet on each other.
You got to trust
Yes.
that what he is going to do, that you are going to stand behind him, and what I'm going to do, he has to stand behind me.
You got to remember what you saw
That's right.
when that law of attraction happened,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw that beautiful thing, not just that beautiful Coke body, shaped body. I'm talking about that.
Did I have the Coca-Cola?
Yeah. You still got that. Okay, still got that.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, she got that. She made me forget what I was going to say. No, you gotta remember that field, that fertile field that you
Right.
saw. That if I could just partner with her, oh, the things we could do.
Right.
Right. So you have to remember that when things get dark and ugly, and she makes a bad decision or choice, or you make a bad decision
Right.
or choice. I made a whole lot more than she did.
But it doesn't
Right.
matter. When we make them, we both make them.
So you got to bet on each other,
Mhm.
right? Before you bet on anyone or anything else,
Right.
right? Leave, cleave,
Let, get,
and
bet.
5 words that'll see you next.
Start at Matthew and read it on down. The last one was Ephesians 5.
Matthew,
Please
yes.
study it.
So Matthew 19, 5 and 6, and then Ephesians 5, 24 through 28 of those verses. But those things will help you. You guys, just to kind of recap real quick, we told you a little bit about what a marriage was, right? We told you about a covenant, that whole blood thing.
Yes, blood
right?
covenant.
We said that covenant is basically a binding, sealed agreement with sheltered nook.
Sheltered nook.
It's a protected place. It's
Yes,
a
it
partnership. Something gets exchanged.
Mhm.
I get something, she gets something.
That's right.
And it happens equitably.
Yes.
Not equally, but equitably.
Yes.
Right? We talked about examples of covenants.
Dangerous
Yes.
covenants that if we let them get in the
Yes.
way, remember the word we talked about, let, they can get in the way. Mentors, friends, children,
Right.
parents, employers,
Right.
be careful.
Right.
Those are dangerous to your
Right.
marriage if you allow them to come in the wrong way.
We told you why they were dangerous because we told you about Adam and Eve
The
and
fall.
how the fall happened, and there was consequences because of that fall.
Satan, at that time, the serpent was the person that they let get involved and break covenant.
You got it.
Them and God.
And then you got 5 words. Let, leave, cleave, let, get, and bet. If you do that, I'm telling you, you're going to succeed. That's in our book too. But we'll tell you about the book later.
Okay, thank you so much for staying with us. We're going to leave with a song with Ruth. I don't know how to say her name.
La Entre.
La Antra, Kingdom. God bless, and we'll see you on Saturday for the relaunch.
Love you guys.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt on Praise.fm.
We're called to be a light to the whole wide world. How many light holders do I have in here? Come on, shine your light. Everybody shine your light. Shine bright so the whole wide world will know that we are kingdom. Everyone that I meet, I can give a smile. And everywhere I see a need, I go the extra mile. Yeah. looking for change, but who will take the lead? Yeah. The change that I wanna see is gonna start with me. Everybody saying now. Everyone that I come on, hey, give a smile, smile. Everywhere I see a need, I go the extra mile. Everybody's looking for change, yeah. The change that I wanna see.